Hello everyone, and welcome to our Module 2, and this is your actual instruction on how to complete your lesson plan presentation via the template that I've given you. So this is your actual presentation template. You'll notice that it is in PowerPoint, and hopefully you watched my content instruction video first, and I will have tried to make it very clear that you are encouraged, highly encouraged, to use other products than just PowerPoint. So I do recommend, and as a good practice, and that's often what I do, is to start your presentation in PowerPoint, kind of as a storyboarding, lay it out, and then you can actually upload your PowerPoint to those other tools. So that's a bit of a review of what I covered in the previous lesson. Now here is your template. I kind of want to walk you through it and just make sure that we're really clear what it should look like, and then you can transfer this knowledge to whatever tool you use. Okay, so in your template you're going to have, and I'm actually going to escape out of this so you can see both my lesson plan and the template, and you should have these side by side while you're working, because this content is for you. This is your teacher lesson plan, maybe that you'll share with your administrator, fellow teachers, whatever. But certainly your students aren't going to see this. And what they're going to see and what they're going to be exposed to is this, all right? So you don't see most of my lesson plans or all the thought knowledge that goes into what you're learning, but it's certainly there, and you end up getting a much more condensed version, which is the way it should be. So here's your template for your presentation. I have my template for you, the lesson plan on the side. Now if you have, if you're fortunate to have like 2 computer monitors, you can have one of these on each screen and then just be able to drag between the two. I actually do have the 2 screens in my office, but the screen recording software that I use for you is on my laptop. So I'm just gonna, and it works, I'm able to divide the screen and just go back and forth. The 2 screens just aren't as large, which is fine. Okay, so you're going to have a title slide, you always do, and you've seen mine. You have maybe your slogan for the school, you have the title, which is always bigger and bolder, and then you have more of the details of what you're assigning out. So you have your class name, you can go ahead and put ours. Now when you had your own classroom, you would put maybe the subject matter there, your name, the department or who you are. If you're a teacher at a school, you put that there. Currently you're an education student at Southeastern Oklahoma State. And then here's our department. And then we have the name of the university and the date. And then I always try to give credit where credit's due, so I said I adapted it from, that's where I got this this template and this format from. Okay, ISTE actually is very, what they would call, proprietary about their templates and standards and all that, more so than a lot of other nonprofit organizations that I've been exposed to, but it is good knowledge, and we certainly want to give credit where credit is due. I'm trying to always start to add a picture, a professional picture, and I highly recommend that you all have a professional picture taken of you. There are a lot of great local photographers that are happy to do that for you, minimal cost typically, or you can even do it as in trade. Now, this was a friend of mine who's just one of the, I think, best photographers I've ever worked with, certainly one of the best ones in Oklahoma, and noticed that he not only took a good picture, but also, you know, is definitely able to work with the colors to get the best coloring of the photo, everything. So you want to have a professional photo and have it edited to its maximum potential, like in Photoshop or something like that. And then you want to have that standard photo throughout all of your accounts. So no matter where you find me on social media now, you should see this same picture. Okay, and that's actually Chief Sequoia. He was the chief of the Cherokees, I think back in the late 1800s, and he was the one that created their syllabary, sorry. He was definitely a thinker and a scholar for his time, and this was taken at our Oklahoma State Capitol. So I thought it was fitting. But please go ahead and start to do that. Someone may end up with your presentation, or maybe your students will share your presentation with their parents or something, or a community member, and it's just good to add context by who you are throughout your presentations. Okay, so next, you always want to introduce yourself and the content when possible in the presentation. The key number one thing, hopefully you went through that content instruction, is that you want to keep the text as minimal as possible while communicating what you need to your audience. And there's always a fine line. You don't even need complete sentences, certainly not full paragraphs. People are used to bulleted keyword only, not a lot of adjectives, adverbs, any of those filler words. It's generally just keywords only. Think of like what you would use to do a Google search, okay? So put your name, your position, all of that in here, grade level content area. That way when somebody views this presentation, you never know where it's going to end up because it's digital. They'll at least have a clue of what you're talking about. And this also helps to frame it for your administrator and your students. So I would also recommend, along with the content area, of course, putting in the standard. Okay. And then you always want to give an overview or an agenda. What are you going to cover? When? If you want to add times to this, that even helps. As specific as you can make this high-level overview, that is good. Notice that I tie everything back to our iCare model just because it keeps it simple. It's something I can remember, and then everything fits into that format pretty much. So introduce, connect, apply, reflect, and extend. Okay. All right, so on this slide, you're going to want to introduce your topic. So tell me just the basics of your standard and your 1 to 2 objectives. You typically have no more than 3 objectives. I would highly recommend sticking to 2, and then no more than 2 standards. You can do like the primary standard and then the substandard to get more specific if you want. I generally wouldn't go more than that, and just to keep it simple for you and your students. Okay. And remember that you had all that over here in your lesson plan. So you can just go ahead and copy those over. So I'd go to my lesson plan here, I'd click on that, click Control C to copy it, or edit and copy, and then come over here and edit and paste, and there it is. Okay, and then I can delete out and format that as I want, change the size of the text up here or the font, whatever. Okay, so do that and get your standards. Here's the content standards. Remember, you just have the technology standards, which is digital citizenship. Map that to a pass skill or a Texas standard. And then you don't have to map on the N-test because that's the standard for you. I have that on your rubric. Okay, so you are just flipping back and forth. So now we're going to go to the next one, and you have your standards again here to content and technology. Sorry, here is your topic. This would be your objective right here. And you could have those together if you wanted. I just separated them in order to not get too much content on one page. Okay. Now, here's one of the few places where you will have full questions or sentences, and these are your essential questions that are mapped to your objectives. Now, notice that there is not a place for objectives in this lesson plan, so I went ahead and put your essential questions in there because basically your essential questions are your objectives turned into a question format. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So again, your objectives for the lesson are your essential questions that are in statement form, or vice versa, objectives in essential questions or in question form. Okay, we're going to go ahead and revisit this when we get to your essential questions later on. That makes sense. Okay, so here's your content standards. You have your overview. Now notice you have an overview here in your lesson plan as well. So you should already have a good overview, and hopefully you do. I'm going to work very hard to get you feedback on your lesson plans as quickly as possible so that you will have that feedback from me in order to do this PowerPoint. But bear with me, I have a lot of students, and so, but I will make every effort to get those back to you as soon as possible. Okay, so trusting that you have a really great overview, which is basically you summarized each of the core components of your lesson plan, the essential questions, the assessment, the resources, the instructional plans. You did a high-level overview, and that is your overview, okay? If this were a research proposal, that would be your abstract, which you all will learn more about later when you're doing your master's or doctorate, hopefully. So go ahead and copy and paste that overview into your presentation. So all I'm doing is copy and pasting over. Now, again, this will be a little bit more wordy. I would suggest that you summarize it down and just get the key words. So focuses on the issues of digital citizenship and the issues of cyberbullying. And I can even just make that even more accurate and highlight that. Go ahead and delete anything that is not necessary. So by the end of the lesson, students will learn the core issues of cyberbullying, especially in online settings. Okay, so I would either highlight this, change the text, something like that, to really clue in the students, or just delete out even the non-essential words. So there's a lot of words in there that I wanted in the paragraph form that I don't want in PowerPoint or in presentation form. So here's some others. We want laws. You'll always start a bullet with a capital. Academic problems and the possible remedies and preventions of it. Students will create a web quest. You can even just, usually you start bullet points with verbs, create a web quest for identify and share online resources about cyberbullying, and then present would be the other one. So notice I'm just really cleaning this up. Present findings. We don't need his and her process and findings. We can just say process/findings. So pretend that I'm charging you $10 for every word that you have in here. Your goal is to limit the amount of words you have as much as possible. Summarize, bullet point, whatever you need to do. You don't want your students reading a full paper paragraph on the screen. So notice that I pretty much have only keywords here. I can just do slash there, create a web quest, identify. So all of this is important words, and I would pretty much keep all of these. Okay. So, so there's your introduction and your overview, essential questions. Again, you can keep all of those in there. It may even help to just bullet point them all. Now I have, several bullet points here. Generally, you want to keep your questions, like your objectives and your standards, to 2 or 3. Any more than that can get pretty overwhelming. And 5 is the absolute max. I would recommend, probably 3. All right, so your anticipatory set. How are you connecting with your students? Now, this is one overall graphic. It's kind of like your overview of the whole lesson in picture form, or just very short text form. So just a few words to really ground your students into what you're doing. Help them relate to what you're doing. Maybe they have 0 experience with being online, and digital citizenship and cyberbullying is totally a new concept for them. They have no clue. So think of the best way with one photo, a wordle, which is really kind of a diagram of many different words describing one thing. Or maybe a short, you generally don't want to do more than a 1.5 to 2-minute video as an anticipatory. But this anticipatory it's kind of like those trailers before the movie starts. Usually they're along the same theme as the movie, and you're really kind of getting that person prepared. It's like preparing your baking pan before you put the mix in it to bake. So you're getting their brain to kind of get ready for the information they're about to receive, and kind of tilling the soil before you plant anything. So and it's just a high-level eagle overview of what you're going to be doing, and then you're going to get more into the details later on. So the next piece here is your assessment, and again, if we go back to your lesson plan, is how are you going to assess what your students are going to be doing? How do I know when I say that I'm coming in as a parent and you gave my student, my kid, an A on that assignment? How do I know that my student, my child, deserved an A and the person next to him or her got a C? Why did my child deserve an A and that child deserved a C? So, or maybe I have, 3 kids in my family and they're all in I have triplets and they're all in your class. And one got an A, one got a C, and one got an F. How would you explain to me very concretely about why each of my children got a very high grade, a middle grade, and a low grade? And then what would the in-betweens look like? Okay, so you want to be able to quantify it just like I have with the rubrics. You'd say, Dr. Jensen, your child did an excellent job of completing all the requirements of the lesson. Here is the standard I was addressing. Here was their objective. They did that at an excellent level. They did their work on time. They spell checked, they grammar checked, all of that stuff in a rubric, which is typically the best way to grade a lot of these education assignments. Everything they needed to do was done at an exemplary level, and I can show you models of other students without their names on them of why that student, your student, has an A in comparison to what the other students did, or just in comparison to the standard. So if the standard said the student was supposed to be able to identify the components of cyberbullying and list 3 reasons why not cyberbullying or avoiding cyberbullying others is important, and they did those 3 things, and they wrote complete sentences and had thoughtful, according to Bloom's taxonomy, responses, then that would justify to me, okay, yes, then my child really deserves an A. So that's the goal of the assessment, is how can you concretely determine what grade you're giving, okay? And you can look at the rubrics I've already given you as an example. You could also, portfolios are a great way. You could give a test. And students can create their own rubrics that you then vet and verify as a team. There's many of the assignments still go back to a rubric though, okay? So here's some samples for you. And again, you can just copy and paste straight from your lesson plan like I just did. Now, connecting your resources. So again, you already have this content from your lesson plan. So hopefully that's all went well and you're just copying it straight over from your lesson plan and taking out everything but the keywords. So they're going to use online student tools, and I'm going to delete all this other stuff. So really this is much of your work is just summarizing and bullet pointing all of the content that you had from your lesson plans. All right, so you're going to do that for each of the slides. Same thing here. This maps directly back onto your instructional plan preparation. Okay, and the same thing for activities. I'm just going to go through and then you reflect. Again, you already have this content written out, extend, and then it always helps to reflect on the previous week's assignment, so you can just put in some basic script here, such as week 2, this was due, week 4, this was due, all right? I always, upcoming assignment, same thing, and then you always have your references cited to APA 6. Remember that OWL Purdue website. So that's the basic. You're going to start there, and then if you want to convert that over to a SWAY or a Prezi or Haiku Tech, that's great. Notice in your Blackboard Module 2 that I gave you presentation samples. So these were for last semester. I have their permission to share them as samples. And you'll note here I put in the notes that below are student samples from last semester, and then I gave you some little extra information here. Please keep in mind that your presentation should be on digital citizenship, not a content area. Now, I allowed the students last semester to do the lesson plans and presentations on a content area. Cherie did science, and then Jennifer Clark did hers on social studies history, and Stacy did do digital citizenship. So, but know that, again, all of you are doing digital citizenship this semester because I just was trying to limit the confusion. Okay. Please, again, convert these to Prezis, haikus, other content presentation tools. Okay. And then lastly, please make sure that you use plenty of photos and videos to make it multimedia. Minimal text, lots and lots of photos and videos and all of that. Of course, you don't want to have 5 different photos or 6 different videos on one slide. You know, do generally 1 per slide. And hopefully that's been modeled in my presentations for you. Okay, so I think I'll actually walk you through Cherie's presentation here. And here she did phases of the moon. And notice that it's just very low text. She has a video here that she's linked to. She's kind of summarized it. That's her anticipatory set. That's great. She has her rubric for assessment. Great. She has the digital resources here. All right. Not a lot of words here. Okay. And she does put in what the teacher will do. Great. That can be deleted later too for her differentiation. This does give students and parents a clue that you are differentiating for key areas of exceptionality or need. Okay, what the student will do. And then her contact information. Here's her references. Excellent. Excellent here. So great job. And she probably could have even minimalized the words even a little bit more, but this is still really great. Okay. And then let's do Jennifer's. Again, she did social studies. She changed the template a little bit, but all the same, she has symbols, standards, an overview, keywords. Here she has a video that's very relevant to K-12 learners. Here's her assessment rubric. She has digital resources. Again, minimal words. This is great how she used some graphic design there. Keywords only. A little bit of clip art here. Nice grouping of information visually. And again, keywords. So she put in her reflection tool here as a picture, which is great. All right. And then she has her references. Okay. And there's her contact name with the picture, which is fabulous. All right. And then we might as well just go ahead and do Stacy's real quick too. So cyberbullying, now she did not adjust her template like the other ones did, but they had a much earlier due date. So that was fine. You're going to really customize yours, and yours is not going to look like this. We're going to have a wide range. Notice she has a video here. This stopbullying.gov. It's a really reputable source. She has the link in there. She has some clip art here. And an infographic here, which is great. She cited the infographic in text there. Another great video where she instructs students what to do. Here's her rubric, which is great. And a little bit of clip art again. Another video, which is excellent. And then a graphic there. She has linked to it, on cyberbullying. And then another great graphic that helps students kind of orient as well as reading the text. And there's some further information for her. Okay, and then some of her references. All right, she needed to definitely flesh that out a little bit more, but this is definitely a good start. And again, they were on much tighter deadline because this is an 8-week course. Okay, so there is the samples, and that should be pretty much it for everything you need. I will do a quick review of your module just to give you an idea. Now this is actually when you click on modules assignment right here, and then notice it's the top link. I have copied and pasted all of the links and instructions so that hopefully this will be a fix for that issue that we had last module, where when it's in a learning module like this, it does that. It forces you with the arrow. So from the student view, maybe we can just go there real quick. From the student view, oh, I haven't, my apologies, I haven't launched your module yet before this video, so we'll go out of the student view. Hopefully you're able to see, it's loading, okay. Hopefully you're able to see the links here that I copied and pasted as part of this one item. Now if I click on them, on this link here, then it has all of those same items that this is where I uploaded it, and then you have your table of contents. I really like that you have the linked table of contents here, but I do understand from your feedback that as soon as you clicked on the next one, it automatically downloaded an item, which could be a problem for those of you with not really high bandwidth, and then it forced you to go to the next item in a link here, not really allowing you to move back and forth between these. So my fix for that was that I copied and pasted them here. I need to update this now that I have the new videos in here, but I copied and pasted them, so you should have all of these hyperlinks active and you can kind of move back and forth. That is, after a lot of investigation, the best fix that I could come up with at all levels of Blackboard. So let me just walk you through this. And I'm actually going to move one more thing to the top here just so you can see it. Okay. Now, so here is the folder for the videos. This is the content instruction video. This is where I walk you through multimedia presentations, the different tools. Watch that first. Hopefully you've already been through that. You'll watch this video after that. I'm going to put the link on there. Then you have your step-by-step instructions. That's a document. Looks like this, and it's basically the same thing that was in your PowerPoint presentation. It tells you steps 1 through 7, how to do this assignment in text format, okay? So it's also in the presentation, but I wanted to give you a second document to help with your clarity, okay? You're going to, again, there's a reason these are numbered, so start with Roman numeral 1 to work your way down. Go in order, please, at first, and then if you need to reference back and forth, you can do that, but at first, go in order because the information builds on, it's scaffolded. It builds on each other, okay? All right. And it looks like we have it twice. Yeah, one's a screenshot and then one is the actual document that you can edit. So I may delete this one, but both of them are fine again. And then here's your rubric. You've already seen that, but we'll open that again. Notice that it's aligned to end task standards, so that way when you go to write your reflection, you have those. And then you also have your ISTE nets here, and that should all be good for you. All right. And then you have your PowerPoint, which is what this first video is based on. So I can click on that, and I download and open the PowerPoint. You can go through that on your own at your own pace without watching the video if you want, or I cover everything in it in the video. Okay, so there's that presentation again. That was video number 1. And then I will put this video with the template there as well. Okay, and then here's your samples that I just showed you of Cherie McClellan, Stacy Summeroff, and Jennifer Clark. And then here is the actual ISTE template that I just walked through with you in this video. There's the PowerPoint. Here's your standards if you want to go ahead and reference them. Hopefully you already have this content, but I put them in here just to be sure. And then here's some PowerPoint presentation training resources if you want more help using PowerPoint or even Google. Here's links to both those. Here's your overall summative rubric. These standards will be helpful to you in your reflection as well. And this is the link that you'll submit your PowerPoint or your presentation at the end. So notice it's due Saturday, February 20th at 11:59. You will not be able to access this module after that time. Please make sure you get your assignment turned in and it's ready to go long before 11:59. I think we had, I had about 3, maybe 4 people that did not get their assignment in on time for assignment number 1. I have over 70 students at this point, so 3 out of 70 is not bad, and one of those may have a justifiable reason I still need to have those conversations. But the other 2 for sure will not fare so well. So please, to be fair to all the other students who get their work turned in on time, who make every effort in the beginning and then don't procrastinate, to be fair to them and respectful of their time, I'm not taking late assignments unless there is an absolute, very, very good reason. Again, I need to respect those students that show up and do the work on time. And I've been in every situation in the past. I've been early. There's been times where I submitted that assignment at 11:58. And I got it in. And there were times where I also, I had some major emergencies happen or travel that changed. I hadn't planned on it. And I was late and I had to take a 0 on that assignment. That's the way that life works. And there are times when I've submitted major grants and contracts. And there was one due to good reason that I didn't get it in before the 11:59 deadline. And they would not take it, and it was a $10,000 grant. So it is what it is. But please let me know if I can help you get it in on time or something comes up. Please communicate with me. Don't wait until Saturday, February 20th at 9 p.m. and tell me that you haven't had time to do anything. I can't help you at that point. I can help you the sooner the better. Okay? So there's your turn-in link, and I think that is about it. I'm going to upload this video. If you have other questions, feel free to contact me right away. Thank you.